meeting of the Tyler ISD Board of Trustees is called to order. We have the presence of a quorum. The meeting has been duly called and the notice of the meeting has been posted in the time and manner required. Do we have any public participants? No participants from the public. So we'll just rock and roll and get on with our meeting. And we have a bilingual English as a second language annual evaluation first.
Statutorily required here, Board, that the school board and the district receive a public display of the bilingual ESL program evaluation. You've got Ms. Elizabeth Moore, the director of bilingual ESL for Tyler ISD. Y'all remember? We only see her about once or twice a year, I think.
Yes.
But glad to have her here. She's got some information for you to discuss in regard to bilingual ESL program evaluation. If you have any questions after this, obviously she'd be a point of contact. Dr. Norman's back there, our Chief Academic Officer, and Dr. Lance Gropel as well. Ms. Moore?
Good morning, everybody. A pleasure to be before you once again. President Washman, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Crawford. Again, thank you for your time and attention to my presentation today. So every year, am I good with the mic? Every year we have to do an annual evaluation of our programs, and so the information I'm going to be presenting to you guys is based on last year's information. Just wanted to give you a heads up. Just a friendly reminder, throughout the presentation today, I will be referring to our students as emergent bilingual student. It's a term that's now been replacing English learner, which we still see in documents and TA forms, but I'll just continue to use emergent bilingual or EB student as I reference the presentation. So here you'll see just a reminder of the programs that we currently offer here in Tyler ISD. So we have the transitional bilingual early exit, dual language immersion. We have the one-way and the two-way models along with like the ESL programs, okay? The difference between the programs are basically based on the goals that TA has set for them. So an example for the early exit, the goal of the program is for students to use the primary language as a resource as they become English proficient. The goal for the dual language immersion programs is for students to become bilingual, biliterate students for all participants. So in the two-way, that would include the non-EB students. And then for ESL is just a shelter instruction model where students are fully immersed in English and then teachers are using supports to support them as they attain language in English, attain language acquisition in English. So currently, or for last year, we had 4,627 emergent bilingual students capture at Snapshot. And then sometimes our numbers would increase or decrease just based on enrollment and throughout the year. But that we have been seeing a steady increase since I've been here in the year 2022. But let's say sometimes we think like 150 students per year or so. Last year to this year, there were about 30 students captured. There is a change that I'm gonna be talking about reclassification that I believe is what's also might show a decrease in numbers in this year's enrollment, but I'll explain that in a second. But we have been seeing a steady increase in our emergent bilingual students since I've been here. And here too, just a reminder of what campuses have which programs. So with every bilingual and ESL program that we have, there are TA certification requirements. And of course, teachers serving in bilingual programs have to be bilingual certified, or serving in ESL programs, they have to be ESL certified. When we have teachers that are yet to obtain those certifications, because those certifications are additions to core content certifications, for example. So whenever we have teachers that are not yet there with the certification, then we apply and request TA for a bilingual exception when it's referencing bilingual programs, or ESL waivers for teachers that are serving under ESL programs. So last year, we had all bilingual teachers that needed a bilingual certification that had one. So we did not have to submit that request. So that was really good. For ESL waivers, I hope you see in the trends that we've decreased the numbers that we needed to submit from the year previous to last year to 23-24. But we did submit an ESL waiver request to TA, saying that we had 87 teachers serving our emerging bilingual students throughout the district and needed to get their ESL certification. Out of those 87, 9 of them were able to obtain it this last year, and that can be the rest of the teachers that perhaps didn't. It could be for various reasons. And every teacher is kind of like a student. They're like in their own path to certification. So sometimes there's other certifications that come prior to an ESL certification, and that's okay. Like, TA understands that some teachers may need other certifications prior to our ESL certification. So it's a process. We did have systems in place to encourage teachers to try to get their certification. One thing that I did check was to see were teachers even attempting to take the test to get certified, and they were. It's just a very rigorous test as well. So last year we did provide trainings for teachers to come in and prep for their test so they could get certified. This year we're going to continue to offer and add additional trainings with a different company per se. So just kind of in reviewing what happened last year and what we need to do different this year, it's like there's already kind of like a motion in place for that. But teachers were attempting to take it, so that was good. Also, I noticed that under Senate Bill 560, basically legislature has asked TEA to review certification requirements along with the test that teachers have to take to be bilingual and ESL certified. So I know there's like there's already a wave for TEA to review these exams because there have been cases where a teacher has tried 3-4 times and they're still, they're trying their best, but it's still a difficult exam to take. So those are a few things on that. And I'm gonna change gears a little bit, which this is kind of also tied to the certifications, because teachers, like, the more trainings they see, the more they hear language acquisition strategies, that gives them a higher chance of passing these exams as well. Two or three trainings that I want to highlight from what we've listed here is 7 steps, curriculum planning, and then the PLC one. But 7 steps to a language-rich interactive classroom has been like a session that we started offering last year. We went from SIOP to 7 steps, and it's been very well received district-wide. So every campus, like, we're differentiating their needs as well. So for example, for Tyler High, not last year, but this year, we've done like a gradual release of this training where teachers are receiving part of it in one step, and then we're monitoring and coaching, and then we're coming back for the rest of the steps. So just kind of breaking down the 7 steps, very straight to the point. An example can be when we list an objective, are we adding like visuals or other verbal cues that can show the student what the verb and the teak means and in the objective. So just little reminders that are very easy for teachers to implement, and I believe that's part of why it's become very popular and very well received, where teachers are applying and implementing. So we're continuing this goal this year and to increase training for more teachers. And this 7 steps I'm going to continue to use Tyler High as an example. We're not just saying, only the ESL certified teachers that are not ESL certified need to come. We're doing everybody that would like to attend. And like with Tyler High, we're training 140 staff members or so. Everybody's in on it. So I believe too wholeheartedly that this will also impact non-EB students, as we teach them how to build their vocabulary. We have them talk more and have like discourse and all these strategies that this training has. So I wanted to highlight that one that I've been very excited about. And then I just wanted to highlight curriculum planning and professional learning, community support, because it takes a village to support our emerging bilingual students. And my peers, I wanted to just give them a shout out from curriculum and instruction and assessment. I mean, these are trainings that they themselves have been leading, like with lesson internalization and push in through PLCs. And we've just kind of been working together to support, emerging bilinguals across District the district because they are in almost every class because of the ESL component as well. So I just wanted to quickly highlight those. And then changing gears a little into TELPAS. So TELPAS is a Texas English Language Proficiency Assessment System assessment that is only given to emergent bilingual students if they haven't met reclassification criteria. So this one is gonna be a lot of information that I might give you, but let me know if I need to break it down a little because of the reclassification component. So and then I'll talk about district growth, but for reclassification, students need to meet two main requirements, and that is that they pass TELPAS that assesses all language domains at a composite advanced high score. And composite advanced score was a change in 23-24. Okay, so in that perhaps is why we also see a positive increase of how many students were able to reclassify, and we've offered for them to exit the program and not be coded as non-English proficient anymore. So we're saying now you've met English proficiency. So this last year we had 480 students that met that reclassification, that criteria, that piece of the criteria, the TELPAS composite advanced high, along with passing a STAR or a standardized reading assessment. So it can be STAR for reading STAR for grades 3 to 10, and then grades 1 to 11 and 12, they do not have a STAR tested designed for them. So then we give them what TA has approved, and that is Iowa. So they have to pass both of those data components, and then teachers agree that yes, they can reclassify. So we've seen a positive increase on students that that have reclassified last year. So that was really good. Prior to TELPAS being composite advanced high scoring that we could look at reclassification, it was the students needed to get advanced high in each language domain. So advanced high in speaking, listening, reading, and writing. And I mean, that was, in my opinion, crazy demand, because sometimes the test is all online now. So sometimes if you're speaking into a mic, are you speaking well? The teachers are not allowed to tell the students too much. So it's like, how do you monitor if they're really doing it, So that was one thing. And in our data for district growth, we're neck and neck with last year, or the year prior to 22-23 and 23-24 are neck and neck, and those are the 2 years where everything went full 100% online for TELPAS. So prior to, it was the teachers had a piece where they did holistic rating for writing. So now we went to all online, and TELPAS really is starting to look like STAR. So our Dr. Curitan's department is now where he's supporting us in, okay, as we look at our data, how are we going to look at it that's similar to STAR, and what are we going to do to practice this test, similar like strategies that we do to STAR, so that we can continue to see growth in reclassification and exiting of programs. So that's kind of like a reflection of what we're seeing here. And my next slide kind of ties into this. So here we broke it down, and when I say we, the Assessment and Accountability Department is really who supported me with this data, so I want to say thank you to them as well. But we see that 3rd and 12th grade, kinder and 2nd grade, they're doing good. 3rd and 12th grade, because those percentages are good. 3rd and 12th grade is where we see where perhaps we have the most struggles. When I was looking at the data that also Dr. Curitan provided a lot of data for me, which was amazing. So I was able to personally review the data and notate that, in my opinion, 4th grade, 6th grade, and 12th grade were the grades that struggled the most with TELPAS, specifically in speaking and in writing, perhaps, which those two are trends everywhere, but I could see that, okay, those TEA gives every grade level like a percentage that they have to meet. So for example, elementary, they have to meet at 49% to say that they demonstrated growth. Middle school was 44%, and then high school 34%. So when I looked at the breakdown of the grade levels, I was looking at fourth grade that was below that 49%. And I was looking at sixth grade that was a little below that 44%, and then 12th grade that was below the 34%. Every other grade level was above those percentages. So then I started thinking, are those the grade levels that we also have to look at and see, what is the discrepancy? I know fourth grade it's like a new holy test for them too that they see, just the way it's set up. It's different than third grade for some parts. So there's a lot of components to all of this. And now I'm changing gears a little. So now it's just like here's the STAR comparison data of emerging bilingual students across the state in comparison to us. So we see similar trends and approaches and meets. I do recognize that in masters, there's this work that we need to do. In processing this information, I started thinking and processing with Dr. Norman too and Dr. Curitin. Are we, when we say emergent bilingual comparison, are we really comparing apples to apples? Or what could be the differences that are not, we cannot say for sure? It's really, comparing everything and everything similar. And one trend that we've been seeing in our district is we've been receiving a lot of new to the country students, and also that may have deficits in their primary language as well when it comes to reading and writing. So that is also something that does not help when acquiring a second language. So I think I might have shared before with the board that personally I came to the country in sixth grade, but my dad was all about you have to go to school no matter what. You're gonna make it to school. So my primary language, which is Spanish, I had a good foundation in reading and writing and all of that. So transitioning to English, it just kind of naturally came. And I was like in an ESL class, for example. So when we're looking holistically at the student, the trend that I've seen with our district is that some students are coming with lacking skills in their primary language, which I can see where it's harder for them to now acquire a second language. So that could be where, master's is at the highest level. So, getting to that level can be a little difficult as well. So, but we just continue to monitor and always on a yearly basis review our practices and just kind of what can we do to continue to support our students. And then I'm going to leave you with this on a positive note. So we are required to offer summer school for pre-K and K students only. But this last summer, we were able to offer it all the way to third grade, and we served 289 students, and we were fully staffed to do this. And I mean, we had a month, and it was amazing. So, and I want to send kudos to Griffin Elementary School because they hosted us. So, thank you so much.
Thank you. Does anybody on the board have any comments or questions?
Well, I have appreciation for all the data that you went through, and I think it's important when you compare it and you can really see the trends. It's mine. I thought I turned it off.
I thought it was mine for a second. I got scared because it's my same ringtone.
I turned it off. So, and I think that you're doing a good job on following those trends and seeing where the problems are. You said 4th, 6th, and 12th grade on the writing and speech. So how are you approaching that, or have you developed a plan to help in those areas? And it's skipping a grade. So any explanation or any other than what you said before for that?
Yes, sir. I believe that in second and third grade, there's strands like the way the test is designed, like listening and speaking might be one cluster between one grade and another, and then it changes the following grade level, where now they're clustered 4th and 5th. Mm-hmm. So it's the first time they've seen that specific test, for sure.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
that could be one of the things. A trend with going a little higher is I think that 12th grader, I have it right here. 12th grade in the speaking, they were a 9% growth that they showed. And to me, that's telling me It could be long-term EB students that have not reclassified and perhaps have taken this test since they really start taking it in pre-K, but it's holistic and they cannot reclassify at that grade. But they've been seeing and hearing about this all the way to 12th grade, and they really may or may not value the test by the time they're about to graduate, because it's not part of their graduation requirement either. So that can be, and it's embarrassing really to be in a room with a lot of students and just speaking in the mic. So we have been working with the campuses to say, hey, how can we break it down, chunk the groups a little smaller so that it's not, everybody at the gym, for example. I don't know if they do that, just like an example. So that could be one thing. The rigor in the test has changed the last 2 years. And one plan that we're working on for this year is, so Assessment and Accountability has partnered with us, and they've created a practice mock test for the campuses. So we're going to have a mock test coming up. And then also, they've been amazing. They created scripts where the teachers can model the thinking when they process a question. So those are things that we've been doing with the STAR test, but not with TELPAS. So it's just, we're starting with student awareness as well. So for example, we're gonna be at Boulter next week, and we're gonna see all emerging bilingual students through advisory and just say, hey, this is why you're taking this test, and this is what you scored last year. What are going to be your goals? Because it does affect in middle and high school, because sometimes they could lose an elective because they need to take like an ESL course, or they need to, so starting with student awareness and then staff awareness too, because we need to show them what the test looks like now. It's not what it was before. It really is very aligned to STAR with the passages and the question times, and it's very content driven as well. So when they're having to speak to a prompt that might be talking about science and they don't remember the content itself, they may blur a few words and it's not good enough for the test results, It is a AI graded exam as well, and that's why at the end of each year, they allow us to send for rescoring requests for speaking. And now TEA is also moving into, they need to make changes. So I believe they're gonna let us start seeing some type of example of what that speaking looks like, because we've never been able to really see, what do you mean when you say they did not meet, the points? Yes, sir. Yeah.
Anybody else?
Just a few things. Dr. Curitan, I see you back there. What genius, was it federal or state level, that came up with the reclassification strategy? Was it a pass-through from the feds, or did we just have somebody trying to justify a job in Austin to redo this? Do we know?
They reclassify everything.
To redo that reclassification
Yes.
from
Yes.
advanced high to composite?
Yeah, why the change? I mean, who came up with that, the state or the feds?
Yeah, my opinion, it was everything with the Senate Bill 560. I believe they're already talking about reshaping programs, like what are we doing, what's in the best interest of students. So I believe it was
Okay.
with that legislature, yeah,
Okay.
560 is my opinion.
STAR comparisons, I know we're either competing at state level, which is, I'll take it, or a tick above, and then there might be a plus minus in there, 3 or so, which that's hardly negligible. What about regionally? Or do you know what the regional, where we're competing up against our regional peers?
I do not, but I'll look into that and I'll get
Yeah.
back to you, because
Why
that
don't
was
you
a comparison.
get that to me so that I can get it to them, because that's
Yes, sir.
that's one thing to compete against the Valley, who has had generations of understanding how to do this. I mean, we've come a long way in Tyler ourselves since Plyler Doe in '82, to be honest with you. So, no jab there or anything, but I'm just saying, I think we're starting to get a little bit better. We know that our STAR performance is improving within that subgroup of kiddos. Let me switch over here to this certification. I have my former principals that are now serving in district level office. I mean, it's some finesse to be able to lead teachers to getting that ESL certification, because they may say, well, I'm not going to stay in X district if you're going to make me get my ESL certification, I'm just going to go leave to go somewhere else that doesn't make me get my ESL certification. So looking at our HR folks in the room, being able to get folks ESL certification is not just they've passed the rigorous test, they actually got the certification, but it's a high five they actually stayed here when we're asking them to get that done. It's a little bit more depth than that. Mr. Jones, do you remember that? Our time in Dallas, that's whenever this big push came. Thou shalt get ESL certified. We even had that here in Tyler, and we had people bailing on us left and right. And we want people to get their ESL certification. Is it the end all that you're a good teacher or not? No. But asking them to go do more because of a federal requirement or state requirement, sometimes when you're in this competing for teachers is not always the easiest thing to do for our HR. So kudos for getting those folks certified where they can.
Right.
Anybody got any comments on that, staff? Did I hit the nail on the head on that?
You did. You hit the nail on the head. That's
Okay.
a concerted effort on behalf of all of the record certification
Yeah.
officers, contacting those individuals constantly to remind them to take care of that requirement.
Yeah, and we play games, we get puzzle pieces, we get gaps in there, and then we've got one teacher says, I'm just not gonna go get it, or I wanna stay here, and we don't wanna lose that teacher. We may have to plug them in at a different content area or a different, that's not required, ESL's not required, and then go look for someone that's certified ESL. I mean, there's some games that are played every year on that, so. Let's talk about, I'll start off with this. I was talking to some principals yesterday at our principal meeting about newcomers that come in. You talked about prior education experience. In other words, the country that they came from, they may be unschooled completely.
Yes, sir.
One thing that was interesting to me was, I said about languages, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Predominantly Spanish here in Tyler, of the kiddos that are bilingual. But then one thing that shocked me was indigenous. So you start talking about these newcomers that are coming across the border. So when I say indigenous, I'm not talking about Spanish. I'm talking about, I'm so rudimentary in this,
Yeah.
Mayan, Aztec, things like that might be spoken.
Dialects, yeah.
The dialect, that's an interesting challenge. I don't know how many of those we've got, but talk to Mina Naranjo that used to be in your spot. Now she's principal at Birdwell, and she said she was even seeing that 10 plus years ago, but I don't know how much that's actually impacting us now. Newcomer percentages. I'm just asking questions for
Yes.
the board that might be interested in this. In our bilingual versus born in Texas or Tyler percentages. Do you have any ballpark?
Yes, I have numbers for you.
Okay.
Let me look at them.
Okay.
So, and then just a quick reference to the languages piece. We're at about 35, 36 languages in
That
the
was
district
my next
that are
question.
represented. So, and that's maybe 6 languages increase. I think last year we were at like maybe 30, 33 languages. And I believe the year I started, it was maybe less than 10 if I'm remembering correctly. So we are
Right.
increasing, and we are looking a lot like the Metroplex and a lot of aspects.
We
So
were monolingually
Mm-hmm.
bilingual for a long time
Right.
with just Spanish speaking.
So we have like Vietnamese, Hindu, Arabic, Urdu. Those are like our highest. And then,
Had a Portuguese
yes,
need
Portuguese.
last year, and you want to talk about a difficult language to get over into English. Go ahead.
Yeah. And then, okay, so as of October 1st, when my department went back and looked at the data, we had 483 students coded as newcomers or immigrants. So in the first 3 years in the country. And then we broke it down by, okay, who are the new? What are the numbers for the new? So in this year, as of October 1st, we're at 157 out of those 483 that are new year one to the country. Okay, so we're still looking at about, if we're
It's
at about
almost a quarter
4,000.
now.
Mhm.
25%. It used to be below 10%.
Yes, so, and then that, the year 23-24, we were at 243 new to the year one for the whole year. So we're at 157 as of October 1st, when, prior year was 243 for the whole year. And this is sprinkled across the district. Really is 50% in elementary, 50% in secondary. They're like in the 200. So it's not one campus per se, they're everywhere, really. So that, and then in the year 22-23, we were at 109 for the whole year. So 22-23, 109. Then last year, 243 for the whole year. And as of right now, we were at 157 as of a few days. So it's increasing. And now year one, if they're in a STAR tested grade level, they do not count for accountability for year one, but they do for year two. So then the whole rest are counting, in our accountability. Now, my opinion, the state needs to look at that. Hopefully with the House Bill 560, they'll start looking at those trends as well. But, it's just, it's where we are as a state.
Get y'all some of that, board. Okay, let me put that in layman's terms for you as far as accountability goes. A kid comes as part of a caravan coming over, big flood coming across the border, right? That's what you keep hearing in the news, okay? They get here. The first year, they do not count towards us in accountability. So these kids that are maybe unschooled for their entire life, and they come across here, and within 366 days of being here in Texas, they start counting towards your accountability. So Dr. Curitan, is that a federal pass-through to the state, or is that a state-derived thing that said thou shalt start counting kids that have never been through any type of schooling situation, could potentially be unschooled, maybe not even proficient in their native language? Is that a federal thing, or is it a state thing?
That's a state.
Okay, so they're counted on your kiddos, same scale as your kiddos, with some adjustments in regard to accountability in the 366th day that they are here. So I'm not talking about being unfair. It's almost unfair to the actual kid,
Oh, yeah.
not to us who have to worry about accountability and get scored and rated, and politicians banter about those ratings. It's tough. So over time, yeah, to be or not to be, domain to be, if we do a better job than the other districts got the same problems, yeah, we'll score. So just wanted to kind of put that out there in regard to some of the challenges that are there in regard to that, so.
And about a quarter of our entire district is EB.
Yes, sir.
And about half of the district's Hispanic. So about half of the Hispanic population is EB
Yeah.
in Tyler ISD.
Yeah,
So
we're
it's,
close to
significant.
4,600 still this year, 700, because a chunk of them did reclassify. So it's otherwise, my opinion is that if the accountability piece of the composite at Advanced High had not changed, we would still have a few more hundred in that group. So we would be closer to 5,000. Yeah, kind of a deal. So yes, sir.
And of the EB population, since you do class out maybe over time, is the majority in K through 8, I would assume, or? do
I
we
think
know?
it's kind of like sprinkle everywhere, but it's easier for them to reclassify at the elementary level. So we do see that a lot, and I think it's just they're little, they don't know to be fearful, or they don't know to not do their best yet. When high school, the other things play into factor. But my opinion is that we do need to target elementary more, so then we don't have what we call long-term EB students taking this test later on and then not seeing it useful.
Well, thank you for your presentation. Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Well, keep up the good work.
Thank you,
Appreciate
appreciate it. Okay, you have a good one.
Okay, next we have a class size update.
Class size update. Part of our District of Innovation plan was that we would present to the board this information once a semester, I believe, instead of submitting it just to TEA. This has always been a local item of interest for years about class sizes. 22 to 1 is some arbitrary number that the state of Texas pulled out of the air at one time, a long time ago, and said that's what we're going to cap K through 4. And then you've got your 5 through 12 that you have to worry about as well. But anyways, we're going to focus on the K through 4 today. Dr. Gropel will be providing the presentation on this today.
Thank you, Dr. Crawford. President Washman, Board of Trustees, in front of you, you'll have the numbers for this year. Looking again at those K through 4 classrooms that are above 22 to 1. You can see the numbers there. I won't read those to you, but I will give you a little bit of a comparison data as you look at these numbers compared to last year at the same time. We have fewer classes that are over that 22 to 1 threshold, with a total number of fewer students impacted and fewer campuses impacted by being over that 22 to 1 threshold, while the district having a higher enrollment of a little over 400 students, K through 12, in that same time frame. So to see an increase in overall total student enrollment, but a decrease in the number of classrooms that go over that 22 to 1 threshold, I think is a positive to Tasha and her staff and our HR staff, Ms. Sherry Barbary Taylor in the back, that we appropriately staffed our campuses to better align to that 22 to 1 threshold, even in an increase in enrollment period for us. So again, numbers are in front of you. You can see over a third of the number of students impacted, which is 69 total students, come from Caldwell and Birdwell, where they admitted more students to their magnet programs than that 22 to 1 threshold, which was at the principal's discretion, feeling that their campuses could handle that additional capacity. So you're really looking more in the line of about 50, less than 50 students across the district that are over that threshold. Again, providing paraprofessionals to support the classroom operations primarily to ensure that the campus continued to function. But at the end of the day, that teacher at the front of the classroom is the most important element, and we want to make sure that we do everything we can to make sure he or she has what they need to be successful. So again, numbers are in front of you there. Be subject to any questions you may have.
Anybody?
Yes. Just looking at the numbers and the number of classes that actually had an extra person in the classroom, and looking at the outcomes, I still think that there is a need for, especially on some campuses, for someone else to be in the classroom. And I think we've been looking at that now. This is the second year we're going to be looking at it again. And just looking at Caldwell in particular, they had 11 classes that had kids, set classes, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So they had an assistant, and Caldwell
No,
was doing...
we do not provide an assistant at Caldwell and Birdwell for
Okay.
those classes, because that's a choice program, and the principal has their discretion to allow those class sizes to go over, but we do not provide.
You don't provide any assistance to that?
No, sir.
I think that the basic thing is kids in magnet programs tend to be a lot more disciplined, and they apply themselves a lot more usually, and especially at Caldwell. And I think that we saw that with the recognition that we just did this past week, is it makes a difference in regards to how the school can perform, even at these class sizes, being increased. When you have students that's engaged, it's much easier for a teacher to be successful and a campus to be successful than it is on those where there tend to be a lot more discipline problems and issues concerned. So I think that that's something worth continuing to look at in regards to the makeup of the class. And then we're looking at parental support as well. Most kids that go in magnet programs, it's based on the parents' influence in directing them to those programs. So those programs are going to excel in most cases because the parents are a lot more involved. So I think that we have to take those factors in consideration, the parental involvement, the discipline, the self-discipline involved in the kids, in determining how much assistance a teacher may have. I know at some of the schools within my district, it's an issue in regards to the number they have and the amount of support they have from the parents' involvement, and then the discipline itself. So when you compare schools like Caldwell to maybe a Jones or a Griffin or a Pete, there's no comparison as far as the amount of support and the difference in those classes. So I think that we have to look at individual campuses in making those determinations, because I think in some classes that is important, that kid has that initiative and that push, and starting it early in their life is going to be beneficial. So I think we still need to continue looking at that at our elementary grades, especially the first, second, third grades, in how our kids are progressing and comparing some of the schools in regards to the outcomes and results based on those factors. Because it does make a difference, I guarantee you.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously review our student performance data and are looking at how we can better support classroom teachers, whether through professional developments or additional support.
Okay, thank you for your update. Now we will have a District of Innovation Teacher Certifications Granted update.
Ron Jones, Chief of Staff, Deputy Superintendent, will be providing that report to y'all today, or really it's not a PowerPoint or anything like that, but you've got the data in front of you. We'll have him there for the conversation. We also have Sherry Taylor, Executive Director HR, that can chime in if we need her to.
Well, good morning, Board, President Washman,
Morning.
Dr. Crawford. It's my pleasure to bring you the information relative to our District of Innovation Teacher Certification status right now. So you have the numbers before you there, and just to note, we are down from last year, 46 DOI teachers, and of the 185 that we have right now, 143 of those are waiting on certification exams, and 40 are waiting to complete alternative certification requirements there, and 6 are waiting on review from TEA of their out-of-state application. So, and we have 19 that are in the CTE arena as well. So those are our current DOI numbers, post-COVID teacher shortage era. That's where we are. Any questions for me at this particular time?
Once again, just a comment in regards to it. I appreciate the information you provided for the certification of teachers within my district versus the uncertified. It really showed that there was a little significant difference in the outcomes based on testing, which is a good thing. And I think that we have to continue to monitor that and making sure that we are providing the adequate teachers that we want in the classroom, encouraging them, continue to get the certification, but monitoring our data to make sure that our non-certified teachers are up to par as well as our certified teachers. And I appreciate that information I got.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else?
Just a comment. Y'all, we're blessed that there are Texans, and maybe even some moving to Tyler, that want to take the challenge on head on to be educators, professionals that are degreed to do this in this era of the company coat of arms, about figuring out whose fault it is that we don't have these certified teachers like the good old days. Blessed that the 84th legislature saw that the DOI was a path because they saw this coming. Blessed that this board, with some different members, but at the same time, and in our committees that we put together, we're able to see the foresight as presented by administration that we needed to have folks that wanted to come into the profession a different way, a different path to get there. I love saying this twice a year. that even your superintendent is alternatively certified, starting in the state of Oklahoma. Because I found a way to make money with a 4-year degree and go into the profession and then do my internship, which is what we're doing now, right? So I do think the stigma about DOI, and you're going to hear a lot about it at the next in the next legislative session, because it's something we've got to hold schools accountable for. Well, guess who produces teachers? It's higher ed. And you know what else produces teachers is saying good things about public education and the profession, and not painting every school system whenever there's a bad actor or they're doing something that's outside of our moral compass as all. And we've had that from the governor's office to the lieutenant governor's office to the state legislature, to paint every school system as one and the same. There's an I in our name for a reason: independent school system. And so I just want to make sure we took that opportunity here while discussing the DOI, how proud we are of our DOI teachers, that they have chosen this profession to make a career of and to help our kids, because without them, you'd be looking at how many vacancies?
Yeah, 185.
Filled by a substitute teacher. We love our substitute teachers, but they either have retired or undegreed, or did not choose this as a profession. So in saying that, we'll continue to work with these folks. What's going to come out of the next legislative session, I hope, is as an injection into some funding so that we can compete against other industries for recent college graduates, and look at some other ways to make teaching cool again. That takes all of us to be able to do that.
Right.
And it starts this spring in January in Austin. So that's going to have to be something that's talked about. And it can't all be done just giving more money into the teacher incentive allotment. We love paying for outcomes. That is awesome. I think it's a fabulous, innovative idea. It should have been done a long time ago. We are in. We're fully in. But saying that that's going to get more certified teachers into the profession,
Right.
and attract talent is asinine. I'm just sorry. And I'm a pretty conservative guy when it comes to fiscally speaking and morally speaking as well. But that is a certain thing that's going to have to be looked at. If you really want your public school systems to improve, you've got to get talent in front of every student. And that's where we're struggling right now. And again, blessed that we've got professionals that want to choose this. And just saying that you're just going to pay for outcomes, that needs to be part of the equation, but that can't be the thing that drags people into the profession. And that's going to have to be worked on, no doubt about it. Because if we are going to go ahead, let me get my voucher shot in here too. That's coming. It's coming. They're coming. Remember that, Rojo?
I do.
They're already here.
Yeah,
Remember that?
I do.
Question.
I'll just say this, that on the vouchers, if it's coming, we need to make all of Texas public education, or education, great. So if you're going to go take care of that component and you see a need there is definitely a need within your public education school system to attract talent. And it's going to have to be done through the basic allotment. It's going to have to be done through paying for safety and security, that we're paying a lot of M&O out to make sure we've got a police officer at every campus. That's an unfunded mandate, along with our safety and security team. So there's a lot in that gumbo that needs to be taken care of this session. Mr. Newsom?
General question in regards to certification of teachers, is it required that private and charter schools have certified teachers in their classrooms?
No, not private. I'm sure that's up to each individual private school about what type of credentials that they may have to have.
Right.
So I'm not as familiar with that, but required, no. Charter schools, they operate just like a regular public school. Again, y'all know my feelings about that. I think we'll be okay with charter schools in some situations.
Are they required to have certified teachers?
It's the same thing as a school system. You either have a certified teacher or you have a District of Innovation certified teacher. So.
And each charter could apply for a district, to be a district of innovation.
Yeah, we're all in this. We're in the same boat when it comes to that.
Okay.
But they don't have to have regularly scheduled public board meetings, do they?
There's a lot of things that charter schools get to do. To take out debt, they don't have to have an election of the general public to do that. Your tax dollars already figure out a way to pay for them to build facilities.
Yeah.
So that was my concern in regards to the requirements. So the requirements for charter are
Yeah.
different than public.
Yes.
Yet again, they still get state funding, federal funding.
Absolutely.
Same
Taxes that
guidelines, right?
Taxes you pay on your house that I
That's what
pay
I
on my
thought.
house, go into the great washing machine down there in Austin, and then it gets spit back out.
Right. Yeah.
Charters.
You have to pay for your certification test, so that's not cheap.
True. There's a lot of things that the state could relieve teacher candidates with. There's a lot. And I wish there would be some more innovation come out. You know, they had the great teacher task force. I don't remember what it was called, a session or two ago. And, you know, nothing came out of there that was as substantial as what we're talking about up here. We'd really deviated to the mean. We got a bunch of people with great ideas in there, and they kind of went to the middle and like,
We got what we got.
we got what we got.
Well, we'll keep doing what we can do to
That's right.
control what we can control. So, appreciate the update, Rojo.
All right.
Okay, we'll now go into executive session. I do not believe we'll have any action to follow.
No.
I don't think so.
No, sir.
So, I appreciate everybody coming out. Thank you.